Welcome to Developing a High Impact Resume, sponsored by the Willow Creek Employment Ministry. I'm Jean Stoner, known as the Job Search Pro, because I've written over 1,000 resumes in the last few years. If you want to learn more about me, just find me on LinkedIn. I've been a proud member of the Willow Creek Ministry for over a decade and glad to be here to share best practices with you. Rob?
Hi, I'm Rob O'Brien, and I'm currently a sales lead at Apsona, which is a Salesforce adjacent partner. However, I have 20 plus years in the recruiting realm, and so I'm going to share my thoughts from the recruiter's perspective. You can find me on LinkedIn as well.
So we're going to be presenting today, but you are going to be able to find a lot of samples, resume templates, best practices at the Job Connection website. So we encourage you after this workshop to go grab all this wonderful, useful resources that we prepared for you. And we do want to start with a thought about from Proverbs 14:23. All hard work brings profit, but mere talk leads only to poverty. So it takes time to write a good resume and some work. And we hope that this presentation will make the process much easier for you. So we are hopeful today that you're going to be successful at feeling much more confident in your writing. So we're going to cover an agenda. We're going to talk about what are the challenges and goals of writing a great resume. We're going to talk about applicant tracking systems, how to target a resume and use keywords to be found through these applicant tracking systems, how to lay out your resume, use car stories to showcase your achievements, ensure you know how to write a cover letter if needed for job applications, and find some useful tips on editing and ideally also to pass it forward to others who are in need. So what are the job search challenges? Recruiters, did you know that the average number of jobs a recruiter manages is 40? The average application per jobs in many cases is 250. Isn't that remarkable? The average time a recruiter reads a resume is 6 seconds. Rob, you want to comment on that? Says a former
That
recruiter.
is more than true. I am scanning, and so I don't have time to read every single word that you have written.
That's pretty frightful, right? 6 seconds. You're going to spend a lot of time writing this. So we're going to teach you tips and tricks to make sure they read your resume a little bit longer than 6 seconds. And another interesting fact is the best way for a recruiter to get fired is to bring in a candidate who bombs an interview. So that recruiter is going to work really hard to make sure you're the obvious choice and are qualified. Rob, any comment about that?
Yeah. So as a recruiter, number one, and I know we've talked about this in other workshops, but network, network, network. And I can't say enough about this. It's really important that when I am going in front of those hiring managers, I am bringing somebody who I feel is qualified. And so referrals are the best way to make sure that I'm meeting people who I think will fit the job. But yeah, it is a real fear that if I bring in somebody that is not a good fit, it reflects on me personally as the recruiter.
So how do we make sure that doesn't happen to you, that you bomb the interview? It's because you're going to make sure you have a strategy for your resume and for your job search. Here's your goal. In resume writing, you want to make this resume really easy for that recruiter. And what we mean by is simplify it, use white space, make it easy to read, and we'll show you examples on how to do that. You want to design your resume for technology. We're going to talk a lot about applicant tracking systems. If you don't write to a computer versus to a person, your resume is not going anywhere. And you want to make sure that you're the obvious choice. Qualification, qualification, qualification. Showcasing that from the top to the bottom is going to make you the winner. So how do we make this easy for a recruiter? First of all, no templates. There's some really cool templates out there in Canva and Word and other places, but you need to start with a blank Word file because ATS systems can't read templates. And if you don't have Word on your computer, find someone who does or pay for, there's a monthly, I think $19.99 you can use to temporarily have Word access. Use it because it'll make it very easy for you to get through to these applicant tracking systems. You want to spell out your qualifications on top. We talked about the recruiter using 6 seconds to read that resume. So the first couple of lines on that resume, we want to show that you are qualified for this job and read more. The top is mission critical for a great resume. You want to make it readable. You want to use a lot of white space. I see so many resumes come in with crammed with information of everything they did. You want to be selective and just choose the best things that you've done per job to showcase in a resume. And keywords, I'll probably say keywords 100 times in this presentation. Keyword, keyword, keyword. Applicant tracking systems are parsing your resume based on the keywords that match the job description. So you want to make sure you embed these words from top to bottom throughout the resume. We call it making a resume keyword dense, not only in a skills list, but as you write your CAR statements, which Rob will explain shortly. So design the resume. There are 200 applicant tracking systems. They're all a little different. Some are larger than others, but you have to write to simplify. So that's why the Word document is so important. So no matter what system a company is using, they can read your file. So there's some green light rules for applicant tracking systems. The one is use universal fonts. And I listed some here. You can see them on the slides. You'll have copies of these slides. I use Calibrini 10.5 or 11 for most of my resumes. There are other fonts that are popular. Play around with them. I stay away from, I typically use a sans serif font. Stay away from the others because they make you look dated. You want to have traditional sections. The applicant tracking system is looking for skills, work experience, education, certifications, community service, professional affiliations. So you want to parse your resume into those sections. Very important to do that so the systems can read your writing. Dates connected to job titles. When a recruiter looks at a resume, they're looking at what job title did you have and how many years did you do that job. So you always want to have those dates next to your job title. Borders, shadings, colors, italics, underlining, they'll disappear when it goes to the computers, but it can be read. So you can dial up your resume. You can make it look modern, use some nice color. I do that all the time, and you won't have a problem doing that. You can also use graphics. I'm starting to use Canva banners on resumes, or you can use logos or graphs. Even though that disappear in the applicant tracking system, you can still use them. So they're helpful for when a recruiter reads you and you stand out from others. You want to add city and zip on your resume because even though a lot of jobs are remote now, recruiters still search for location for many jobs. And year of graduation, if it's less than 15 years, you just put the year you graduated. If it's more than 15 years, just leave out your graduation date. So all those will make your resume go sailing through that applicant tracking system. Some really red light things to avoid. Okay, I said it once, I said it twice, I'm going to say it again. No templates, no Word templates, no Canva templates, blank Word file, no Google Docs or Pages, can't be read by applicant tracking systems. Be careful about PDF files. If you're applying to a larger company, sometimes those systems can say they can accept a PDF, but many can't. So to err on the safe side, I'd say use a Word document that says, unless the system says you can insert a PDF file. No numbers or footers because it can't be read. No text boxes can't be read. Spacing sometimes between letters. I like to do that to make the resume look nice. It screws up the applicant tracking system and how it reads your document. No degrees or credentials next to your name because I think that's your last name. So put those degrees and credentials to the right of your name. Those are all red light rules. Be very careful. Follow them to make sure you're going to be safe. So the next goal you have with a resume is to become the obvious choice. And I'd like to say identify your target. I'd like to use this GPS because it's really clear what we're doing. If you know where you're going, if you know what road you're driving on, you're going to get to your destination. If you don't know that road, you don't know that address, you're not going to get there. So if you don't have a clear target, work with the counselors in the ministry, try to figure that out or you won't be successful. A target is needed for applicant tracking systems. It's needed for recruiters to see that you're the obvious choice and you're qualified for the job. And it's also important for that hiring manager to see that you're qualified for a job. And we'll show you target in a few minutes. So how do you target your resume? You go to those job boards. I love using LinkedIn Jobs. Other people use Indeed. We also have a job connection job board at the ministry. You go to those job boards and you search for jobs, look for job titles. And what you're trying to do is find jobs where you match 75% of the qualifications. Because if you apply for jobs where you don't match the qualifications, they're going to find people who do, and you'll be frustrated and you'll be applying for hundreds of jobs and not get hits, not get interviews. So stick with that 75% goal. And what you're doing is when you're reading the job description, you're looking at the qualifications section and saying, do I have those requirements for that job? If you don't, make a list, find where your gaps are, and figure out, work with the counselor at the ministry and figure out how to address those gaps. Many times it's some simple educational learning you can do, and you'll be good to go. Also, how do you become the obvious choice? These keywords are super important. So I use a tool called LinkedIn Explorer, and this is the URL for that. I go into that Explorer, into the home page. I add a job title like production supervisor. I'll put in production supervisor, and right away it's going to give me a list of all those keywords that are important to be found in applicant tracking systems. So I literally copy those keywords and I make sure that they're addressed in the resume from top to bottom. Okay, super helpful. I can do a demonstration after this presentation. The other way you can find keywords, which is super cool, is use a tool called ChatGPT. If you haven't used it yet, go Google it and go get on ChatGPT. It's free. And you can put in the prompt. It's like a supercharged Google tool. And what you're doing, it's an AI tool, and you're going to ask it, give me the keywords found in the job description, and you're going to paste that job description in the prompt, and it's going to list a bunch of keywords. It's going to give you a long list because it's going to count everything from soft skills to hard skills. So you got to kind of make a judgment call about what the keywords are. And the way I make that judgment call is I use that LinkedIn Explorer and compare the two lists. Super helpful. So resume layout, how do you write this resume? So if you look at what we have here, we call this our Catherine Parker template. And when you go on the Willow site, you're going to get this template. And you want to follow the flow of the way this is laid out. We call it, it's a modern layout. It's what we call a hybrid approach, where on top, you talk about what differentiates you. And on the bottom, you go and explain your experience and all your credentials. So let me show you what that looks like in a little bit more detail. So you want to build out your header with some branding. So see how you put your name in, city, state, your city and state, no address because address is too personal, phone number, email, and ideally if you're on LinkedIn, you want to have your LinkedIn URL there. You want to make sure you customize that URL. Just hit go to your URL. If it has a bunch of numbers to the right, just click on it, go to edit your URL, and you can customize it. So, but beyond your header, what you really want to do is you want to insert the exact title of the job, because that's a weighted factor for these applicant tracking systems. So if the job is a customer service professional, that's the title you use on the resume. If the job is a customer service specialist, that's the title you use on your resume. Match those titles up. And then you want to show how you're qualified. You want to show what makes you stand out from others. And so we have some really nice branding here, passion for developing client trust and delivering unsurpassed customer service. And what I've been doing these days is I've been going to ChatGPT and I'll put in customer service professional, give me a value statement. And I use the words from ChatGPT to help figure out what I want to put up here on top. Or I'll read a job description and see what the kind of skills, qualifications they're looking for. And I use the words from the job description. Let me go back. I'm sorry here. I got my slide. Okay. And then in terms of the bullets on top, you want to think about what makes you qualified for this job, what makes you stand out from others, what differentiates you, what's your personal brand, what's your unique promise of value. So in this case, we have an operations improvement specialist success improving customer service operations and business process for Fortune 100 companies, skilled in staff training, metric reporting, tracking trends, finding root cause, and taking corrective actions. See how we have keyword in there because we're trying to get that applicant tracking system score. Okay, but also we're showing the value I bring. And the second value is I'm a team leader. I was elected from an organization of 100 associates to train and mentor colleagues, chosen from manager-led council to create positive work culture. That was unique for this person. So we wanted to showcase that right on top to show that this individual has some leadership skills. And then what we love to do is we love to add a testimonial from an email, from a LinkedIn recommendation, something to share the light that people think you're great at what you do. And so we add this nice little branding statement in here, testimonial. We paraphrase from emails or LinkedIn, and it really pops this top of the resume. So when a recruiter is reading this in 6 seconds and they see that, they're going to say, oh, let me read more. That's what you're trying to do here. Rob, any comment about this section?
I was actually just going to say I really like this feature, especially because it pops out, because you're right. It's at the very top of the resume and it's going to catch my attention and, to your point, say, oh, I need to look more. And keep in mind that in today's day and age, most recruiters are working off a mobile device. So this kind of a pop out will help me say, oh, this makes this more clickable. I need to go further on.
Awesome. Okay, the second section after you build out that nice little intro is a skills list. You don't have to have a skills list, but many people do. And you notice that these are hard skills: customer service, customer experience, operations support, business process improvement, auditor. These are the skills you get by using LinkedIn Explorer, using ChatGPT. You don't want to necessarily have your soft skills in here. You can have your soft skills buried throughout the resume or in that top section. This individual wanted to put some soft skills in this section, so we did that. We added that below the hard skills, because what the applicant tracking systems are really looking for are these hard skills. Okay. Moving on. Next, you want to set up your experience, and Rob is going to, in our video too, is going to go into this section in detail, because this is the most important part of the resume. This is where you make yourself the obvious choice based on the bullets you have listed here. So you see what, I'm just going to show you how to lay this out. You put your company in there, city, state, how many years you work there, then your job title, okay, and years associated with that job. Then you kind of do a scope statement. Here's what I do. And then here's what I achieved. What you want to do is you want to shift your resume from this is what I do, like it reading like a job description, to this is what I achieved using car stories. And Rob will tell you more in video too on this detail. Rob, any comment on that?
The only thing I'm going to say about layout here is I really like the way this is laid out, because I can see that this person has been at Allstate from 2009 to present, but I see a career progression as well, from claims processing specialist to claims service specialist to claims associate service adjuster.
Excellent. And see how Rob really was honing in on the job title and the years. Okay. When recruiters are scanning this resume in 6 seconds, they're looking to say, what experience do you have? What jobs have you done? And that's why we draw the I using bold. Because we know that's what the recruiter is looking for. And then at the end, you want to finish your resume with what we call your differentiators. Okay, your education, any certification and training you've had, any software you know, any community service, any boards you're on, whatever makes you stand out, any military experience, here you want to showcase at the end of the resume. Very important to do that. So the branding part is a little bit hard to write, this intro, but just think about, what are your brand bites? What makes you stand out from others? What makes you cool, like a red sports car, right? And so I gave you some coaching notes on how to do this. And usually with a branding statement, think about I'll say I'm a human resource professional with an accomplished career in the tech industry. Okay, because recruiters want to know, what industry have you worked for? What has your role been? What do you call yourself? What function are you great at? So start simple. I'm a human resource professional with an accomplished career in the tech industry. Okay, what are your specializations? State, I specialize in recruiting, employee relations, and compensation. All of us have a specialty. Rob, what do you specialize in?
My current specialization is I am in the Salesforce ecosystem. So I have a business analyst type background where I understand Salesforce and can talk to both the business, the project, and or the tech side.
Great. So that's Rob. I specialize in the Salesforce ecosystem as a business analyst, yada yada. So that's beautiful for that, what she wants to say there. So then you want to come about, I've worked in organizations or industries. Rob's had a number of different jobs. Rob, what industries have you worked in? You worked in,
I've worked
give
in
me
manufacturing, so a lot of different types of manufacturing, but I'll just generalize it as manufacturing. I've also worked in service industry. I've worked in publishing. I've worked in nonprofits, so I have several backgrounds.
How cool is that, right, guys? So for Rob, that differentiates her. People are going to value her industry experience. So she's going to want to make sure, I have worked in service, nonprofit, manufacturing, diverse industries. That's very valuable. I know a lot of tech folks amplify that they've worked in all these really cool sectors. And anything that's kind of uniquely interesting about your background. My background includes, Rob, is there anything interesting about your background?
My background includes that I owned my own business for 10 years. So yes, I would say that that's probably a defining moment for me. And I do kind of sprinkle that through my resume.
Yeah. So for Rob, how valuable is that? Because if people want to hire a Salesforce professional with an entrepreneur spirit, that is very valuable. My background includes, solopreneurship for 10 years.
Mhm.
So just think about yourself and what makes you stand out, what makes you different, what makes you special. That's what you want to say at the top of your resume. And so I love this example of a grammar school teacher. I'm an accomplished career teaching K-6 students in homeschooling, traditional special ed environments. My talent is writing lessons plans, facilitating assessments, designing learning programs, and managing events. I create supportive, rigorous, and positive classroom environment experience, balancing the challenges of teaching students with low social and economic status, differentiator for this individual. And I have multiple pastor leadership roles for 300-member community church. Interesting, showcasing this person's value system. Okay, what a wonderful way to start the resume. What nice branding statements that is. So those are ideas for you on how to get your resume started. So just a couple of frequently asked questions is, what's different about a resume? When you write a resume, assume that you're writing in first person, but you want to leave the muscle and lose the fat. You want to write tight and concise. So when we write resumes, Rob and I, we don't use I, me, my, they, us, their. We don't use their, our, yours. We don't use the, a, and. We take out the little words, assume first person, and then you're going to have a really nice, tight and concise and beautifully written resume. One page or two, remember what's your goal. You want to make it easy for the recruiter to read your resume. You want to use white space. So for most of us, even younger professionals these days, a trend is a 2-page resume. You're adding in those nice testimonials to showcase how, to help people trust you. When they see others saying great things about you, they're going to like and trust you. That's going to be a grabber for somebody to consider you for an interview. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to transition now. We're going to stop this video. We're going to move on to video 2, which is critical for your success. You need to learn from Rob how to write an achievement-based resume, a cover letter, and you need to learn how to edit your resume really well. So Rob is going to cover those topics. So please tune in for our second video. Thank you for you joining us for video 1.